everyone. This is pretty much impromptu, but this has to do with the clip of Will Smith and Jada, what she posted. And I think she's abusing him. I really do. And I'm seeing the comments of other people about it, and it's exactly what I lived through. Now, for context here, I spent 11 years in an abusive relationship with a woman who was violently emotional, verbally, and mentally abusive. It caused me a lot of trauma. And then I see these comments from people that are like, why don't you just leave? He can do it. He's a man. He can move. The thing is, if you have never experienced an abusive relationship, you don't know how hard that is. Whether you're a man or a woman getting abused, it's if I do better, they'll change, or they're not always like this. I've got to try harder so they will stop. And at some point, and you justify that because you think you're doing the right thing, because you think that is possibly the right thing to do. You're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for them. But partially, you are doing it for yourself because eventually, what people don't realize is in those abusive relationships, it becomes your normal. You're used to it. You know what the person is like. You start learning how to walk on eggshells and watching what you say and how you say it because you don't want that attack. You're scared to death, but you it's scary to leave. I know people say, why don't you just leave? Because when it becomes your normal, when it becomes your everyday life, it becomes you become used to it. You become somewhat normal to it. You hate it, but it is honestly a lot of times the fear of leaving. Can I function outside of this? Can I live outside of this? It's terrifying to go through that kind of thing because you're being abused and it's like, I want to leave. I fucking want to leave so bad. But then you're afraid. You're afraid they leave. You're afraid to leave because you feel like you failed. Felt like you didn't do enough. You felt like you didn't give enough. You didn't do your best. It was not their fault, it was your fault. Because that's all anybody ever said. It's not their fault for the abuse, it's your fault because you're not doing enough. Or in the case of a lot of times, both men and women, they don't believe you. They don't they don't believe you, or they're like, oh, suck it up. Oh, that's just how it is. Okay. And I'm looking at this video, and the link is in there in the comments in the YouTube thing. But yeah, I've I live this. I live that horror, and I'm looking and I'm seeing people talk about that. I'm seeing people on the Twitter thing being like, some people are just trying to dismiss this. No, I know what this is. Hello, Potato Revan. Hello, Captain Quinn. I'm talking about this whole thing is about the fact that I think Will Smith's being abused, and I think he's been abused for a long time. And I'm talking about my perspective on what being someone who spent 11 years in an abusive relationship was like. People don't believe you. You try everything, you're doing everything you can to fix the relationship, not realizing they don't care to fix it. They don't want to fix it. They're happy with what they're doing to you. Doesn't bother them. And they justify what they do to you. My ex-wife would used to tell me, "Oh, it was self-defense." I'm like, "You fucking are screaming, yell at me. I'm trying to walk away, go out a door. I'm trying to go out a fucking door, and she'll block the door. I'd go into a bathroom, try to hide, and she'd kick the door in. But it was my fault." See, that's what an abusive person does. They make you feel like it's your fault. You don't realize you are actually the victim of that. And that is, and then when you try to reach out, you get these dismissive things. But then when it's like, say, try to leave, it's like you have to mentally get yourself prepared for that. You have to get yourself mentally prepared to accept the consequences of getting out of that relationship. You have to try to figure out how to live outside of that, because in some ways it becomes your fucking comfort zone. You're just used to it. You know what to expect. You leave this, you don't know what's next. And it's terrifying. And you feel like you're not worthy of anything better because that's how they make you feel. Oh, you ain't going to do better than me. I'm all you got. You can't do better than me. What you going to do without me? Okay? So, yeah, it's just it's heartbreaking because I'm seeing that. I saw that clip and I'm just like, I've been really thinking about it. And I'm just like, my wife, who was also in an abusive relationship for years, um, I had her look at it and I said, am I off? And she goes, no. She sees everything I'm seeing. She sees the same nonverbals that he is like, please stop, please. I'm begging you. He is screaming. He's not, he's talking soft. No, he's screaming at the top of his lungs. He's begging her not to do this. And she is just like, oh, you're being foolish. Oh, look at this. And she's condescending him. And he's trying everything he can not to lose it. And it's scary. And in his case, in this case, he's famous. They get divorced, they separate. It's going to be on him. It's going to be his fault. They're not going to blame Jada. They're going to blame him. Say he didn't do enough. You were a man. Why didn't you do enough? Why didn't you man up? Why didn't you take care of her needs? That's what I lived. And I'm not even famous. I'm a nobody. But I've been in that and I can see it. I saw it in that. I can see it. I know those tones and inflections Jada was doing. I know that condescending fucking attitude. That's not playful banter between two. And no, that was not. I'm sorry. I don't believe for a second that was acting. What I believe is that was her trying to goad him, make herself feel better. And that's why she fucking posted it. So, but good to see you, Captain Quinn, by the way. Yeah, it's just it's still a stigma even now that it's the victim's fault in an abusive relationship because they could have just left anytime they wanted. I wish to God I could explain to people who have never been through that trauma that it's not easy. It's hard. It's scary. It's terrifying. You're living in this hell and you want out, but you don't know how to get out because you're afraid of what comes next. Are you worthy of what comes next? Because you still feel it when you're told it's your fault all the time. You're to blame for this. You are responsible for what I'm doing. You start to believe it. You really do. You start to believe it's your fault. And this is man or woman being abused. You start to really believe you are at fault. And then if you just do better, if you just try harder, they'll stop. But they won't. They never will. They love it. They love dominating and abusing you. And it takes a right moment, a right person, and mentally and emotionally being ready to say, okay, I'm ready to walk out that door. I'm ready to enter that black. I'm ready to go into the unknown, because you get to a point where you realize this is too much. I've had enough. And not everybody gets there. People live their entire lives in abusive relationships. People are killed in abusive relationships because, they didn't know how to get help, and when they tried to reach out, people were like, "Oh, it's no big deal," or "It's this," or "It's that." Especially, I'm sorry to say, if you're a man, trying to tell other people you're being abused by a woman, try being laughed at, like it's a fucking joke. So, yeah, I'm gonna say I take this one personally because I think she is abusing him, and I don't know how long she has, and they've been married for, I think, 13 years. That's hard to get out of, and then you're gonna have, at his celebrity level, the entire media is going to focus in on it. So, that's what I gotta say about the clip. You can check the clip out on the link down there for Twitter. But yeah, I don't think that's playful banter. I don't see it. Uh, but yeah, I think she is mentally and verbally and emotionally abusing Will Smith, and that takes a toll on the well being of a person, whether they be a man or the woman. Doesn't matter the damn race. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Y'all have a blessed one. Tater Revan, Captain Quinn, thank you for stopping by for just a few minutes. Y'all have a good day.